Candid conversations, unfiltered opinions, and humor with AVAC Beck's podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to an episode today. I have the pleasure of having Daria Rudnik with us. Daria is a team architect and leadership coach. She's also an author. So you're wondering, what is a team architect? When you were talking about architecture, we're talking about buildings and things like that. Yes. Today we're going to talk about people architecture, right? So the team dynamic, and also leadership coaching. Yes, we've talked about leadership a lot on this channel. Why do leaders need coach? Why not? Leaders, more than anything, need coaching. So today, Daria and I will be discussing that, and I'll be asking some questions, and she's already shown she can answer those questions. So pull up a seat and let's talk. Hi, Daria. Welcome.
Well, hi, Adangazit. It's great being here. I'm super excited to have this conversation.
Thank you, me too. I'm very excited to have this conversation. So let's start with team architecture. Why are we applying architecture to team building?
I love the question. The thing is, we never learn how to work in teams. We kind of assume that teamwork just happens. You put people together, and here we go. There's a team, and you have one manager, and have some people reporting to this manager. There's a team. No, we're overusing the term team because, to be honest, we never learn how to work in team. Family is not a team. School is not a team. University is not a team. And the first time people actually join a team is when they join the workforce, and then people tell them, be a team player, build a team. When leaders become leaders for the first time, they say, okay, you need to build a great team. How do you do that? When you go to the leadership course, you learn how to delegate, how to set goals, how to give feedback, how to do your one-to-ones. But what about teamwork? What about team dynamics? How do you build this collaboration between different team members, probably living in the different time zones and different cultures and different offices? And even if they are in the same space, how do you make this group of people a real team? So that's what I call team architecture. I'm a being tech architect. I help leaders design teams that work well together.
So many questions on that, but let's talk about the family unit. So most people feel like their family unit is their first team. And if I know family, like anybody knows family, the kind of things you say or the way you treat your family, you would not do that in a workspace and get away with it. So how do we really let people understand that, yes, your family is your family, although you had to maybe have chores within that family that is not actually considered a team in a sense of cooperating?
Yeah, I love that question. It brings the essence of what a team is. A team is defined by a shared purpose. Family has no purpose. There's no goal. We love each other just because we are there together. No matter what happens, no matter whether we're a high performer or a low performer, it doesn't matter. You cannot fire anyone from your team. We're always together, no matter what. Team's not like that. Although we have family, we have friends, we have different kind of social connections. And team is defined by a shared purpose. We're here together to create something amazing. And this something amazing is what defines what are the people need to be on this team, how do we collaborate, how we work together, how we communicate, how we are interconnected. And that's the huge difference between teams, friendships, street gangs, anything, just people hanging out together and a team.
Yeah. So let's talk about picking the right talent. So what happens in a dynamic where a manager is keeping people based on personal relationship of playing favorites, and it's affecting the team dynamic? However, the people who are actually producers of that team get punished for speaking up. So what do you make of that team dynamic? And is that effective?
I think you have the answer in your question. Sorry, the manager. Well, the main question is, what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to achieve? I know, I've been in environments when it's a family business and you kind of need to have certain people on board because, again, it's part of the family. It's very complicated. It's very hard to run a family business because of this interconnections between family and business. In some cases, you are in a situation like that. Well, the thing is, what is that you want to achieve? If you really want to create something valuable, by valuable, I mean it's for people who will use it. It's like businesses that are creating something valuable. They're also contributing to the society. They're helping the community. That you have workplaces. You have people working together who feel well because they're creating something meaningful. If you are into this kind of business, then obviously, like, playing favorites. It's just, you do need to have strong relationships with the team, but this relationships are based on your team contributions and engagement and motivation, how you work together, and not based on I like you and I don't like you. But if you are in a business one, you just don't need to have it. You don't want to have it. I mean, okay, it's your choice. You just don't want to be part of that.
So what do you say to people who find themselves in that dynamic and they do bring a lot to the table? They have a lot to offer. Again, I'm asking these questions because I've seen a lot of like casualty, corporate casualty, where people feel like, okay, maybe I'll make the difference. Okay, maybe speaking up will make the difference. And unfortunately, they end up, on the wrong side of the axe. So when somebody actually initially sees this dynamic in a workplace, what do you advise somebody to do? Because there's a lot of trauma attached to that experience. And I would like for you to please speak on that.
About that question, no workplace is perfect. I've seen amazing organizations that I'm so happy to work in great organizations. I was working for Deloitte. I was working for Swedbank, which is a great Swedish bank. I was working for some other companies, fast-growing startups. They are amazing. But we also have, people are different. There are also conflicts, misunderstandings, misalignment, different things. The question is how you approach that. And if you are as an individual or a leader in this kind of in this position, you have two options, just two. Well, the first one is you try to change something, and by changing something, it's not you're studying you're opposed to everything that's happening. You say you're doing it wrong. It's trying to understand what's the real cause of it. And in most cases, and I'm telling you, in most cases, it's just people are overloaded. They're so overloaded. Leaders, executives. Everyone is just running. It's constant hustle. It's constant doing the next thing without thinking, okay, what have we accomplished there? And with that, it's very hard to really focus on building great culture, on building relationships, on noticing the right people. If you see that people just not willing to change, they're not willing to do anything. It's not just that they're overloaded, it's just the way they are, and it's the way the culture is created. Well, just find something else. There are so many amazing companies out there. There's so many great cultures. There's so many great leaders. You can always find something or build something yourself. You're not stuck within the culture that is toxic for you.
Thank you for that. So do you have any key elements that you think a dynamic team should have?
Well, again, as you mentioned, I wrote a book, Clicking, and this book is exactly about how to building self-sufficient teams, and it has 5 elements in that. So the first one, as I mentioned, it's clear purpose. Teams are defined by clear purpose. What is that we're going to achieve? It's not that just we got together and we have one manager, hey, we're a team. No, but get together, discuss, understand what's your shared purpose. The second one is linking connections, is how people on the team are connected to each other. And not just one person to manager having one-to-ones with each team member, but also how those people are connected between themselves and how they are connected with other organizational units, what are their stakeholders, what are their internal customers, what are their internal partners, how do they build those relationships within the organization. The third one is integrated work. Well, the first 2 are pretty obvious and many leaders know about them, but the integrated work is an interesting thing, is when you get together and agree, here is how we're going to work together. Here are the rules of our engagement and our collaboration, communication. That's how we hold our meetings. That's how often we have our meetings. These are our deadlines. That's how we decide on what's our next step, how we prioritize, how we communicate, and all the things that matters for the team. It creates so much clarity for them. People stop feeling frustrated and uncertain. Okay, what should I do? Should I respond to this email right now? Should I respond to this email when I have all the answers? Like, what should I do? It's really a great tool. If you haven't done anything with your team, create one thing: team norms and rules of engagement. Like, you'll feel the difference. The fourth one is collaborative decisions. You as a leader, you don't need to make all the decisions by yourself. Some decisions are made by leaders, some decisions are made by the whole team collectively, and some decisions can be made by individual contributors. So make sure you're very clear on who is deciding what and how those decisions are made. And finally, the fifth one is knowledge sharing and feedback. How do you learn together? How do you give feedback to each other? How you request feedback from your internal clients, and how you grow together as a team. So when you have this clear purpose, linking connections, integrated work, collaborative decisions, and knowledge sharing, you'll have your team click.
Beautiful. I love that. And please show us the book again for those people are watching. Clicking. And where can we where can we get a copy of this book, Daria?
Well, Amazon and all the major book retailers, Barnes and Nobles, you can find it there.
We're family dynamic, and sometimes there are no shared values or there are no shared lived experiences. So the person being forced to attend out of office event does not quite align with whatever is going on. So imagine having an out of office event in a bar for a person that doesn't drink at all, right? So should that be a forced relationship, and should that be punitive for a person who doesn't feel like this actually doesn't align with whether my personality, my culture, or my personal beliefs?
Well, you touched a very important point here, because, well, in many cases, companies have a team building. It means let's get together and drink some beers. No, that's not a team building. That's drinking beers. What I'm talking about is, okay, you have a clear purpose. I'll tell you a story. I mean, I don't want to theorize and explain. I'll tell you a story. I had a client. She was, and still is, she was responsible for cybersecurity in a cloud computing company. And she had a team of, I think, 3 or 4 people. She's an amazing leader. She wanted to protect their team. She wanted them to feel safe. She wanted them to feel good. She didn't want them to be disturbed by other people asking questions, or especially if they made a mistake or someone else made a mistake and they were blamed for this mistake. She didn't want them to handle that. And she was the go-to person. She talked to everyone. She was overloaded, but she felt like she needed to do that. And well, at some point, she started to feel that she's burning out. It's not only her. When she looked at the results of the engagement survey for her team, she saw that the engagement rate dropped. The team started to become disengaged, they were losing motivation, and she didn't understand why. When we looked at how the communication is going within this team, we saw that she's the person super connected with all the organization, with decision makers, with internal customers, with everyone. While the team members, they were just like talking to themselves. And since she had like so much going on her plate, she didn't spend too much time explaining what's going on to those people. And they felt isolated. They didn't feel protected. They were losing meaning. While we're here, we're doing some like meaningless work. What she changed after that? She made sure that those people went out and became connected to their organization. So they were going to the stakeholders, they were discussing what is needed from their team, they started discussing mistakes they made. That's how we grow. They became more connected with the wider organization. And they now think, okay, here are the people we serve, here is what we need to create to do for those people, here is how we are connected to the wider organizational goal. They started to see the bigger picture. They started to have this meaning, and they felt engaged, and they got their motivation back. Well, and the leader got more time back because she didn't have to do it all by herself. She had another 4 people helping her to do that. So that's when I say about linking connection. It's not just having beers in a bar. It's about meaningful conversations with people who like you working together to create something great and amazing together to serve your clients, to reach organizational goals.
That is so beautifully said. And that also leans into the collaborative approach as well. There's some leaders that feel like they're the end all and be all. They make all the decisions. They do the connection. They do the thing that brings the thing into the thing. And, that hustle culture or that hustle mentality you talked about in the beginning, that is what creates that. So for any leader listening to us today, and for my team, you now understand my crazy. So on my team, when we meet, we have a segment called questions, contributions, suggestions. I want to hear everything. What are you questioning? What are you doing that you're questioning? Is this the right that we're supposed to take? What questions do you have that we all can contribute to help you out? And we have a very active conversation. Also, whatever it is, what should be discussed? What's the way forward? What are you seeing that is happening around us that we need to implement? What are you suggesting? And with every suggestion, if you suggest something, I trust you to champion it. Show me how we can do it. Okay? Not every leader is like that. And I think, I'm not trying to excuse the behavior, but in a corporate world that is very competitive, I think people fear losing their jobs or their position to a rising star. So how can a leader be effective without that insecurity of losing their position or their jobs to somebody that is great at what they do and can bring a different essence to the team?
I mean, you're right. It's more about leadership culture that we live in. And we kind of have this perception of when you talk about a leader, like who's the leader? And you instantly picture an image of someone standing up the hill with a cape flowing behind them, ready to save the world. That's a real leader. It's not. I mean, this complex, ever-changing world, no single heroic leader can save it all. So you need a group of individuals. You need those, I don't know, averages, whatever you have. Like you need many people who see world from different perspectives. You have different skill sets that contribute to each other, and this will save the world. This will save the organization. But we kind of need to make this transition, and this goes two ways. One is people demanding this kind of leadership. Leaders themselves trying to be that kind of leaders that invest more in their teams rather than trying to save them, whether it's their insecurities or ego or the demands from the organizations. And like from the top, there also needs to be cultural change from the top on how we see leaders. And I see companies changing that. We have organizations that are going into like more flat organizational structures, in more collaborative decision makings. There are a lot of organizations like that, but it's still, the number of these organizations still needs to be bigger, more cultures like that.
Yeah, we do. And let's talk about your journey, Daria. So how did you get started on this? Like, why was this something that stuck out to you so much that you decided to be the solution? And we talked about your roots, quite impressive, over 20 plus countries globally, and you are represented in every continent. So you and I talked about being humbled by our growth. What was this even a thought process that, this would reach this far when you started, or you just saw a problem at a time and you felt like with your contribution, you could actually be a solution? So what was that journey like for you?
Well, in my previous job, in my corporate role, I used to be chief people officer, and I've seen organizations going through different challenging situations and crises, and there could be some local crises, like I was working for a bank and their license got suspended and they couldn't work for 3 months. And the way we handled the situation is by talking talking about our values and about culture and bringing people together. It was one of the best moments for organizations to build amazing culture. And not a single person left the organization during those hard times, because we were there together. We had a single, very clear purpose to make sure the bank can operate further on. We were united by our shared values. We had a lot of conversation of how we work together and how we can overcome the situation. So we basically had all of those 5 pillars. And I thought, wow, that's just amazing how this company could do that. And I've also saw situations when there were mergers and acquisitions, and there was a company, an organization, and the executive team was so scattered around. They were talking about themselves as a family. They had employees working for their organizations 5, 10, 12 years, but no single executive could join this circle. Like every new person get pushed out, maybe unintentionally, maybe without even realizing that, but they kind of stuck together just on their personal connections because we are here that long and everyone else is just the outsider. Well, they didn't done well. The company was acquired and kind of dissolved and all the manager team was let go. And I thought, that's amazing how a strong team can handle situations like financial crisis. Like there was a global financial crisis 2008 with this bank situation, military conflicts, pandemic, lots of things that can be handled by a strong team. And what if team is not strong, if there is no team, they just go.
And in all of that, what I see is transparency and communication. And we're all adults, and you can't fool people that you trust to perform complex tasks. You know, and sometimes upper leadership do not see the essence in being relatable. And if you're not relatable and you're not communicating openly and honestly with your team, there is that sense of distrust and you're going to lose people. You're going to push people out of the door intentionally or unintentionally. So it's okay to step down from your throne, whatever that is, as a senior leader, to be relatable, because in time of crisis, people need that. People don't need to feel like they're just another body, and that is the easiest way to lose somebody. So you said the chief officer, right? That was the role. So, and that is an HR role. So what does that really encompass within the HR framework?
Well, that's basically everything from learning and development, performance management, recruitment. It's just, I mean, I don't really appreciate the HR because humans are not resources, but we're people. So that's kind of chief people officer.
Should we change that?
Oh, that's the reason like companies are changing that, like chief talent officer, people experience officer, chief happiness officer. There's a lot of experimentation going on with that, and I love that.
Very good. So let's talk about the motivation to write your book. Daria, you've coached, you've helped teams, you've grown teams, you've restructured teams. What was that thing that push to write the book? You're being consulted consulting with all these teams. Why write a book? Why not just bottle lightning for just people who can have access to you?
Like, I have a mission in life. I want people to feel happy at work. I mean, I really do. I feel people deserve that. And we spend so much time at the workplace, and it's possible. I've seen that. I've experienced that, of how amazing it is to work in a great team, to contribute to something that's bigger than yourself. And I want more people to experience that. And of course, I'm just me. Of course, I have colleagues. I have lots of other people, amazing people who can help organizations do that. But book is an easy way to start working on that. And this book, I wrote it specifically. It's very practical. There are templates and workshop scenarios and checklists and like things to say, things to do. Just do one thing out of the book and you'll see the difference. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted leaders to be able to start making this change themselves.
Thank you that you wrote the book, because we can all get a copy to your goodness. So thank you. So for everybody listening to us, Daria, how can they reach you? Somebody's interested in working with you. How can they reach you?
I'm very open to connections on LinkedIn. You can find me, and obviously my website, dariarudnik.com. I also uploaded some materials to support my book there so that you can download them and use them, try and see what's working for your team.
Beautiful. So for anybody who didn't catch that, we'll make sure it's in the show notes so you can just click in and connect with Daria, to work with her, to learn about her and all the great stuff that she's doing. So Daria, because I like Oliver Twist, I'm always asking for more. So for our listening audience, I usually ask my guests to leave a golden nugget or a bunch of golden nuggets. What golden nuggets would you like our listeners to walk away from this conversation with?
Well, the main thing for me, and like I really want people to hear that is the era of heroic leadership is gone. I mean, you don't need to be a hero to save it. Whether you're an individual contributor or a leader, there are other people you can work together and collaborate with towards the mutual goal you're trying to achieve. So the era of heroic leadership is gone. Now it's time for empowered teams. So build those amazing teams, find those amazing teams, and you'll feel so much better.
Yeah, that's true. Find those amazing people. Not everybody will care about your company the way you do, especially if you're an entrepreneur, but you want somebody that has a shared value. Yes, it's very important. And also, before we close, what is your take when building a team of the highest slow fire fast practice? Have you ever heard about it?
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Well, it depends how you define slow and fast. But the hiring process is a very important one. What I would say is avoid the culture fit thing, because culture fit is usually something, oh, here's someone like me.
Yeah.
Someone who thinks the same. No, it's not the best way to choose the team members. Look at the whole team. Like, what kind of team members you have in your team? What kind of skills, energies, mindsets are missing on the team that would contribute to reaching your shared goals, and hire people like that. But don't look too long. You don't have to look too long, because I know there are companies that are looking, okay, we're 3 months looking for a person, 6 months looking for a person, 2 years looking for a person. I mean, if you're looking for a person for 2 years, you probably don't need that person.
You don't need that person.
Definitely. So there's got to be like a balance, and then great onboarding helps a lot with people starting to perform faster. If you onboard people, if you tell them about your rules, if you tell them about your team norms and how you work together, they don't need to guess. And that makes it so much easier for them to actually integrate into your team culture. But if you find someone who's not following your team norms and rules, yes, that's the point of firing someone. And I'll tell you another story. I hope we have time, but that's an amazing story about how team norms actually help with this hiring process. So I was working with the team. It was an executive team of a manufacturing company, and they were great together, but they had a lot of conflicts. They were very engaged and passionate about their team, the organization being successful, so that they could not agree to any single point. So they were all constantly arguing, because some people thought, okay, we want to be number one organization, we need to find better providers and we need to find better suppliers. The other side, we need to find better distribution channels. And the other side, we need to produce faster. And the other side, we need to produce more quality goods. So they all had different opinions of how they should work together and what are the team actually goals. So one of the things we did with them, we created those team norms, sort of keep it up and cut it out behaviors. So keep it up behaviors are behavior, and write about it in my book. So keep it up behaviors are those that you want to see more on your team. And for that, it was when you see a mistake or when you see something is not right, speak it up. Don't hide it. Don't think that someone else will do that. And they had cut it out behaviors. One of those cut it out, and these are behaviors that you don't want to see on your team ever. Like, you don't want to tolerate this kind of behavior. One of the behaviors was speaking behind the back of other team members. So they had those keep it up behaviors and cut it out behaviors, and they were agreed on the shared goal. They had the strategy. They were good to go. I stopped working with them. And then 6 months later, CEO and the founder, he reaches out to me and says, well, we're doing great. According to plan, strategy is going, everything's fine. But I want to share something with you. The team decided that we need to let our chief commercial officer go. Why? Because she constantly violated those keep it up behaviors, and she demonstrated those cut it out behaviors. So the team decided that she's not part of the team. And they reached out to me, they reached out to the CEO and said, hey, we think she should not be part of the team because she's not following the rules we all agreed upon. So that's one of the best ways to let people go. It's a team decision based on the norms that you've created together.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's so refreshing to hear that a team stuck together for good. Usually you hear it on the reverse side. Usually it's the ganging up on one person, talking behind the back, supporting the toxic person. But that is quite refreshing to hear, that a team for once had clear approach, clear outline of what they wanted, and they stuck to it. And that is such a great thing to adopt. Going back to the keeping up behaviors and the cutting out behaviors. I think sometimes because of relationships, some teams may have held on to the lady who was violating the core principles just because her son plays lacrosse with her nephew, who also owns a dog that is related to the cat and the bird outside, right? So, and it perpetuates this continuous growth of a toxic person and a toxic behavior just because, oh my goodness, she's just dealing with a lot. Her mom is sick or her dad fell yesterday. Like, what does that have to do with what the guiding principle of being professional in a professional setting? So, with that kind of presentation, how dangerous is that behavior to contain somebody who blatantly, or they claim ignorance, but I don't think it's true, who may not understand or know that they're breaking a team dynamic rules?
Well, the great thing about creating team norms is that everyone, including this person, like including the toxic person, like any person on the team, they all said, we agree to those norms. And if we violate them, there'll be consequences. So once something's going wrong, everybody sees that. It's super clear. It's super transparent. Rather than when we have our corporate rules, they're in this book, read the book, and you'll know what's going to happen. I mean, no one reads the book, and if you read the book, you can interpret it in different ways. So when you have those team norms, everyone agrees, everyone talked about it, everyone knows what are the consequences. So it's very clear.
Yes, thank you for that. Just said nobody reads the book. It is true. But Daria, this was such a great conversation. Thank you so much for being here. I'm grateful for your presence. I'm grateful for what you do. Please continue to make workplaces healthy, because some of us like to be happy in a workplace. So thank you for all that you do.
Well, thank you so much, Idangazida. It's great. It was great talking to you. I love the questions. It was fun.
Same here. Same here. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And yes, tell us what you think. Was this useful? And please reach out to Daria should you have a team of whatever size, whether you're, Fortune 500, whether you are, a small, I don't like the term small business owner, whether you're an entrepreneur, business owner, and you're managing a team. If you need guidance, we have the book. If you need further guidance, again, we'll make Daria's information very available in the show notes, so you can click in and find her, consult with her, work with her, and take it from there. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Daria, again. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to AVP podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. It really helps us out. We'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the discussion. So join us on social media or drop us a message. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and keep pushing the boundaries of your world.